Hi, everyone. It's Keenan Crow from One Iowa Action, the Director of Policy and Advocacy here to give you another legislative update. As you know, a whole bunch of stuff died before our last legislative update with the funnel, but there were still a few good things that were alive, and I'm happy to give you a report on those today. So, two of the good bills that we were in support of passed yesterday. One of them was a bill to equalize benefits for adoptive parents compared to biological parents for employees. So that would essentially mean that employers can't treat someone who adopts a child any different than someone who gives birth to a child. That obviously benefits the LGBTQ community in a big way, and so that's something that we were very, very supportive of. Unfortunately, it did have kind of a bad amendment that got tacked on at the last second that will mean that this only applies to those who have children up to the age of 6, but that is still a dramatic improvement on what's going on now, where adoptive employees can be treated completely different in every circumstance compared to those who give birth to their children. So that was a good thing in net. The other thing that was a really good thing in net was the LGBTQ panic defense bans actually advanced through the House on a unanimous vote yesterday. That is a huge deal, especially in this political climate. You saw all the anti-LGBTQ legislation, and then we saw a whole bunch of those people that had co-sponsored that legislation vote in favor of this bill. So that is a really big deal. And very quickly, I just want to go to some of the floor debate on this bill so you can see exactly how this played out.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we established earlier, the gay and trans panic defense, or LGBTQ+ panic defense, is a defense used by individuals who seek to evade personal responsibility for violent crimes, including murder, by arguing that their violent actions were justified by finding out another person's gender identity or sexual orientation, or by receiving a nonviolent pass or come on from an LGBTQ+ person. This defense has been used in cases you may have read about, including Matthew Shepard, Brandon Teena, Marco McMillan, Gwen Araujo, Angie Zapata, and Isla Nettles. As recently as 2018, the gay and trans panic defense has been successfully used to mitigate a murder charge. James Miller killed his neighbor, Daniel Spencer, and claimed self-defense on the grounds that Daniel Spencer had made a pass at him. He was found not guilty of murder and manslaughter, despite the fact that he never argued that Spencer had tried to cause him harm, and there was no forensic evidence indicating that Miller had been physically threatened. Ultimately, a jury sentenced Miller to 10 years probation on a lesser charge for a violent crime that cost another person his life. 10 years probation. With that verdict, a Texas jury was willing to absolve a killer of personal responsibility for his actions because his victim was gay. That sends the message that gay people's lives aren't as valuable as others and that gay people deserve to die. The American Medical Association has called violence against LGBTQ people, specifically transgender or non-gender conforming people, an epidemic. At this time, I would like to remember Kadari Johnson. Kadari was a teenager from Burlington who identified as gender fluid. Kadari's classmates remember their unforgettable smile and contagious laugh. In spring of 2016, Kadari was found dead in an alley, soaked in bleach, their mouth gagged with a plastic bag, and pants pulled down, exposing their genitals. They had been shot twice in the chest. 2 men were later charged in connection with Kadari's death. They had intended to have sex with Kadari and then murdered them when the men found out that Kadari had male genitalia, both claiming that they were in a fit of rage. These men were convicted of murder, but that will never make up for the loss of light that Kadari brought into the lives of all who knew them. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Here in Iowa, we value all members of our community. It's sad that we have to make it clear that a person's gender identity or sexual identity is no excuse for violence against them, but we do. Thank you to Representative Kaufman and Representative Jones, who served on the subcommittee, members of the Judiciary Committee who supported the bill, including our chair, Representative Holt. I ask that all members of the House support this bill today.
Seeing no further discussion, the chair recognizes the gentleman from Cedar for closing comments on House File 2503.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Bennett, your comments are spot on. It's ridiculous we have to do this, but we do. This isn't just a hypothetical. People have been acquitted of murder. They've been given probation. They've been given lesser sentences, all because they successfully used a defense that someone was gay. So with the passage of this bill tonight, I hope the Iowa House can send a very loud message that you do not get to murder someone, you do not get to harm someone, you do not get to assault someone simply because you disagree with their lifestyle. I want to thank Representative Bennett for working with me on the amendment, Representative Holt for allowing me to run this bill, and Representative Jones for helping it get out of subcommittee. Mr. Speaker, I move the bill.
All right, and we're back. So thank you so much to Representative Bobby Kaufman, who floor managed this bill, and you just heard from him a little bit. We really could not have gotten that bill through the legislature without him. And another big thank you to Representative Liz Bennett, who worked very hard on amendment language and with the caucus to try to get that through. And obviously her speech was incredible. So that was very, very cool. Thank you to both Representative Kaufman and Representative Bennett, and for Representative Holt for bringing this bill forward and working on the language, and his staff member Amanda Willey, who I know was very, very involved. A lot of people to thank on that one. I will just do a quick caveat on this bill that it is not a total ban on the LGBTQ panic defense. It is a starting point. So it bans one of a couple of different ways that people can use this defense. Once again, not perfect, but that is not how legislation is made. We don't always get everything that we want, but we did get something that is very good. It is a dramatic improvement on current law now, so we are very impressed with that. So how can you be a part of this process? Well, if all goes well, this bill should still be alive by the time LGBTQ Day on the Hill rolls around on March 23rd. Now, it is after the second funnel, so we have to keep it alive through then, and you may see some action alerts to that effect trying to motivate the Senate to keep that alive until that point. But hopefully, if you come to LGBTQ Day on the Hill on Monday, March 23rd, that'll be one of the things that we will be advocating about. And that's another thing I want to talk about. So that is coming up very, very soon, just a little over 2 weeks now. You will have the opportunity to come get training from expert folks that work in this field every single day about how to talk to your legislators, meet a whole bunch of people who are interested in advocating on LGBTQ issues. Go to a big rally in the middle of the rotunda, and then after that, we'll split you into groups and have you talk to your individual legislators. If you've never done that before, I know it sounds kind of intimidating. It sounds like a big deal. Trust me, it isn't. There's power in those groups. There's power in that information that you're going to get in that training. And so we will make it as easy as possible to introduce you to your individual legislators and start having those conversations now. Obviously, a lot of the bad stuff is gone, but that doesn't mean that things can't come up at the end of session. And so establishing those relationships early on with folks is a great way to have that already ready to go. If something negative comes up, you can immediately reach out to that person and say, hey, look, we already had a conversation about this. What's going on? And get an explanation from them that way. So please, go register right now. There will be a link below in the description where you can sign up for LGBTQ Day on the Hill. You will get a snazzy t-shirt in addition to lunch. If you want lunch, we can provide that as well, or you can bring your own, totally and completely up to you. We want to make an opportunity for a free event if you want, but we also don't want to inconvenience you. So it's really as flexible as you want it to be. But we'd really like to see you there, and we really believe that having as many people there as possible is going to make the biggest possible impact on that legislation, both the good legislation that we want to to see advance and the bad legislation that we still don't want to see brought up in any of the budget amendments. So looking forward to seeing you there on Monday, March 23rd. Please sign up now, and we will see you next time.